This video is a petition to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, our elected officials, and to law-abiding American citizen patriots who believe in and support our Constitution. There's a White House petition created based on this video, so please sign it and share it far and wide. There'll be a link to the petition itself in the description of this video below. This video will also be mirrored on BitChute and DLive. This video is not entertainment. It is a lawful call to action for American citizens of conscience from all walks of life to stand against enemies of our country and the Constitution on which it stands. I'm requesting that you, Mr. President, and all elected officials of conscience within the United States create and start using Gab, Minds, and BitChute social media platforms. Most Americans don't even know about these free speech platforms. However, if you, Mr. President, made an account on any or all of these platforms, Americans will realize that there is an immediate alternative to big tech tyranny. On October 28, 2017, I released my first YouTube video entitled The Social Media Constitutional Crisis, where I cited the United States Supreme Court decision from 2017, Packingham versus North Carolina. In that case, the Supreme Court found that social media platforms were online public squares and protected under the First Amendment of our United States Constitution. As you know, under U.S. law, hate speech exceptions to Americans' constitutional rights to free speech don't exist, despite the mainstream media and big tech misinforming American citizens by stating otherwise. To my knowledge, my video is the first time a YouTube content creator publicly discussed social media in the context of Americans' constitutional rights to free speech. Today, and since the 2016 election, Mr. President, your constituents are being silenced. American citizens' voices are being silenced by the tens of millions. At a time when the majority of mainstream media have abandoned their duty to the Fourth Estate in favor of being propagandists and mouthpieces for socialist and communist corporate elites, American citizens need your leadership now more than ever, Mr. President. Make no mistake, these corporate elites are enemies of Americans' right to free speech, Americans' rights to bear arms, and indeed, our Constitution itself. They hate the country that made them billionaires in the first place. They use their vast wealth to bribe, bully, and manipulate the system in their ongoing effort to destroy the United States by any means necessary. Mr. President, to be very clear, the enemies are not at the gates. They're amongst us. They're the masked Antifa terrorists who commit hate crimes against Christians, Jews, and other American patriots who still believe in our Constitution, in which you and every elected official in the United States took an oath to defend. When they attack patriots, they're committing national origin discrimination, which is a federal civil rights crime. And make no mistake, Antifa are committing these hate crimes for political purposes. They openly admit this. This is the very definition of terrorism. Further, Antifa is well organized and well funded by multinational establishment left-wing NGOs. If you look at my YouTube channel, you will find my Antifa Exposed playlist, where I out the major corporate funders of Antifa's terrorism. They include donors such as Kellogg and Ford Foundations, as well as the Southern Poverty Law Center, just to name a few. When Antifa isn't terrorizing American citizens, groups from across the left-wing spectrum are. Law-abiding citizens wearing hats emblazoned with the words, "Make America Great Again," are being victimized by unprovoked assaults. These are hate crimes and are violations of federal civil rights law because they are national origin discrimination. And they are epidemic. Law-abiding Americans are being targeted every day. Even government officials are being targeted for discrimination and harassment. Big tech companies have openly admitted to antitrust activities and unlawfully colluding to silence American voices who speak out against terrorism under the pretense of silencing hate speech. If you want to know who the enemies of the United States and our Constitution truly are, then you need to look no further than any company founded in the United States with a hate speech policy, or any company, college, or NGO with a diversity executive officer or team. These policies and these diversity teams are used to witch hunt and unlawfully discriminate against law-abiding American citizens and target them for their Christian religious beliefs and support of constitutional rights. American citizens, your constituents, Mr. President, are being victimized and unlawfully discriminated against by the tens of millions, by left-wing groups and big companies alike, every day. When the mainstream media abandoned their duty to the Fourth Estate, independent content creators, commentators, and news journalists took the mantle abandoned by corporate media and continued to report the news and educate Americans on the issues, objectively, ethically, and honestly. And big tech tyrants were furious. Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter, Patreon, PayPal, MasterCard, Chase Bank, and many other corporate tyrants unlawfully targeted and retaliated against the new independent Fourth Estate and your constituents and continue to do so today. While I agree that filing antitrust action against this cartel is a step in the right direction, and said as much months ago publicly in a prior video, today, Mr. President, you can make a difference. Right now. Make no mistake, this tech tyranny is the constitutional crisis of our lifetime and possibly this century. Those banned from or otherwise silenced on these social media platforms no longer have convenient access to their elected officials who maintain accounts on these platforms. Their political speech, the most cherished free speech under our Constitution, has been silenced by the enemies of the state, big tech. What's happening instead is that left-wing groups such as Hillary Clinton's Correct the Record are deploying massive numbers of sock puppet accounts in an unethical effort to change the face of the United States and wrongfully manipulate our political and indeed our electoral process. You can see this in the example of the targeting of Marsha Blackburn's political speech or the wrongful and unethical social media smear of Judge Roy Moore. Both of these politicians were victims of enemies of the United States and, in my view, were victims of social media terrorism. Mr. President, I know you take your vow to defend our free speech rights under the Constitution seriously, and because of this, I urge you in the strongest terms to make social media accounts on platforms such as Gab, Minds, and BitChute. Where you lead, this country will follow, and these tyrants will be a thing of the past overnight. If you don't, these big tech tyrants will continue to unlawfully discriminate against American citizens until the United States and the Constitution on which it stands is no more. And to those watching this video, again, please share it far and wide on every social media platform, and don't forget to sign the White House petition associated with this video. Let's let the enemies of the United States know that there's still patriots willing to defend our Constitution and our country. I'm DDJ, and this petition to protect Americans' free speech rights under the Constitution of the United States is your dose of misandry today.